Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to jump in and talk about one of my most favorite things, probably my most #1 top crochet thing of all time, and that is granny squares. So granny squares are super popular, so I think a lot of other people like granny squares too. They are one of the first things I ever made in crochet, and they're just so happy, fun to make, really fun to play around with colors, and just so many different things you can do with them. So we're going to go through 10 different patterns of things that feature the classic granny square. Now, all the links to all the projects we're going to talk about today can be found down below. There's a full written pattern for free on the Fiberflux blog. Each one of them has a full video tutorial as well to go through the whole entire project. And you can also get the ad-free pattern PDF both in my Ravelry shop and my Etsy shop as well. So let's jump in and talk about 10 granny square crochet projects. So the first project on our list is this berry season blanket. This is just a big giant granny square, and I absolutely love that about it. It's fun to play around with the colors. I sort of went with because it's the berry season blanket, I went with like pinks and purples and put a little bit of like white in between to kind of make like a border and sort of frame it out. But you can do this in any colors you like. It's sort of the concept behind our granny stash down crochet along that we do every year. We make a big giant granny square and use up scraps of yarn. I can put the link down below for that if you're not familiar with that project, but that's a really fun crochet along we do all year long if you're curious. Our next project featuring the classic granny square is this Blue Skies granny tee. Now, the projects that I picked for this sort of kind of push the limits of granny squares. So you can make garments out of them. As you can see, you can make blankets out of them and all kinds of different things. So this one I made kind of like a top or a tee, and it's just 2 granny squares sandwiched together and seamed at the shoulders and down the sides. So you have openings for the arms and the neck, and it makes this gorgeous little cap sleeve top. Now I chose a single color for mine, but you could really have fun with the different colors and color combinations and striping, and it makes that iconic square shape. And I added a little bit of a bottom granny stripe edge to it to just give it a little bit more of a tunic and less of a crop look. So check out the Blue Sky granny tee. Next up is this 30-minute crochet trivet. This is just a simple, once again, granny square made in just a couple of rounds. But the difference with this one is I held multiple strands of cotton dishcloth yarn together to make a really thick, kind of heavy-duty granny square that you could set hot things on, and it's extra thick to protect your table from hot things or things that might scratch as well. So you could make a couple of these as gifts. I shared this around the holiday season for the first time to do some quick last-minute gifts as well. So check out this 30-minute granny trivet. Next up on the list is this cute vintage granny bonnet. Again, I kind of pushed the limits with what you can do with the granny square. Again, it's just 2 granny squares sandwiched on top of one another, and I did kind of bright, happy, springy colors. And this makes a really pretty little project and just a lot of fun. So check that out. Next on our list is this Wisteria Trellis Throw. I chose some muted purples and greens. It kind of reminds me of kind of those like early spring colors. This is one we did for a spring crochet along a while back, and it's just solid granny squares and just join as you go, added a border, and it just makes a simple but really beautiful blanket. The yarn is really soft, so it's also very comforting as well. Next up is the Graphic Blooms convertible skirt, and that has a big long name, but what it is essentially is I did granny squares, a panel in the front and a panel in the back, sandwiched them together and made like this long skirt. Now, this is very customizable. You can make the granny squares, each one of them as large or as small as you want it to be, depending on who you're making it for. And you can make more rows of them as well. You can add extra panels to the sides, or you can make it narrower. It's totally up to you. Now, the title is called a convertible skirt, and that's because you can also, I actually discovered this by accident. I wanted to make a skirt. It has a little ribbon drawstring, very beautiful, but I actually was trying it on my dress form, as you can see here, and when I did it, I slid it down the top of it because my dress form doesn't have arms. So when I put it on, I sort of slid it this way because the base of my dress form is very wide. This is just the backstory behind this, but So I slid it down through the top and it kind of settled down on the shoulders and it made this like really beautiful cowl. So that's why I called it the convertible skirt, because it can be worn as a cowl as well, just by accident. But either one, it makes a really beautiful project. And the reason I called it the graphic blooms is because the hot pink and the lime green and just it looks like just a really bright, fun kind of middle of summer blooms that you see. There's really, really bright saturated colors. So skirt or cowl, the choice is yours, or both. So check that out. Really fun project to make. If you want to take granny squares to your home decor, try this Grannytastic wall hanging. I was making something, I can't even remember what it was, and I was joining some granny squares together and I just was not loving the direction it was taking. And I kind of just said, oh, this would be a great little thing to hang on the wall. If you want to celebrate the granny square and all things granny squares, this is just a beautiful little wall hanging. You can play around with the colors depending on your personal space. But I did add some tassels and some extra things to it. And then I crocheted around a little piece of wood just to give it some structure, and you can hang it up on the wall. So if you love all things granny square, this is the perfect little home decor item that you can stitch up. Next up is this tropical getaway blanket. This is also one that we did for a crochet along way back when, and it's just some beautiful granny squares that I joined together, and then I took all the colors from the square and made the border. Here's a close-up of the border, and it has like a little scalloped edging on it. So just some different options. Instead of like a plain granny square blanket, you can add different types of borders, and I was trying to sort of showcase that. As you can see though, you could do a classic granny square for this like we've done for all the other projects I've talked about, but this particular granny square has a little tiny flower in the center, and I used some post stitches to sort of like come around it and make it more of like a 3D flower. So check that out. A little bit different granny square for that one, but also a beautiful, beautiful blanket that I really enjoyed making. Last but not least in our granny square lineup is this Wildflower Fields poncho. This one I made with just 4 granny squares, and I really played around with the color. The yarn that I used was some beautiful purples, greens, blues, and it had some heather through it. So it's sort of like was bright colors, but just kind of muted and a little bit more wearable. This is just a really easy piece. You could just pop it on with like a pair of jeans or even like a cute skirt, and it just makes a really easy, quick thing you can grab, and it looks absolutely beautiful. So check out this poncho. I don't have a whole lot of ponchos, so if you want to see more ponchos in the future, share down below, but this one was definitely a lot of fun to make, so check that out. So that is my granny square lineup for today. Now I have a Granny Everything playlist on YouTube. I'll share the link down below for that. There's tons and tons more granny projects that you can try. I also have a lot of projects that are granny triangles, granny stripes, and things like that. So check those out as well. If you love granny everything like I do, there's lots more inspiration and ideas down there. So have fun, happy granny square crocheting, and I will see you in the next video.